So a few months ago I did a video on this Chinese sound quality amplifier that looked really nice. However, it had a lot of counterfeit components, I believe. Just didn't sound all that great. Definitely did not sound as good as it looked. In that particular video, I mentioned Stereo Integrity and how they had some nice looking amplifiers coming out that we're going to check out. So let's talk about Stereo Integrity. This website here, you can see stereointegrity.com. They're really well known for the 24-inch subwoofer they have. It's $1,300. But if you check the video description below, Life of Bliss has a video on these subs. He actually has 3 of them. Very impressive, by the way. But again, on their website, they also now have amplifiers, and they look a lot like the one I tested before. So they have 4 different full range models, including a 75x4, 125x4, 200x2, and 200x4. In addition, they have 2 subwoofer models, 1500 watts and 3000 watts. Those aren't out yet, should be out soon. We decided to pick up the SIQ-200.4, which is the largest Class AB amplifier that Stereo Integrity sells currently. It's listed at $12.99 shipped in the US, so we got one in. Let's get out the trusty knife, unbox it. There you can see it comes with a really nice pine box. Open it up and whoa, she is pretty. Let's pull it out and take off the plastic, and here's some of that beautiful beam footage. Also inside the box are the 40 amp fuses. You have some extra ones as well as some mounting screws for the amp, and then some mounting plates for the amplifier. Here you can see right through the acrylic panel on the top, beautifully laid out amplifier here. Transformer covers that are covered in copper, just really nice. We'll get to the guts later on in the video, just stick around for that. Now this amp is essentially 2 of the SIQ-200.2s mirrored though. So what I mean by that is if you just take the standard SIQ-200.2, it looks like this. And if we put 2 of them together, you're not going to be able to make it look the same as this amplifier unless you actually mirror one of the sides, which I'll do here. And you can see it looks much better this way, much cleaner. The amp also has Stereo Integrity engraved. Looks really slick. Let's take a look at the inputs here. You can see the amplifier is actually pretty long, as expected with it being 2 different 200x2 Class AB amplifiers. Now let's take a look at the amplifier's inputs and outputs. You can see there are separate gain controls for channels 1 and 2, as well as Tiffany style RCAs. Channels 1 and 2 speaker outputs here, those actually accept 4 gauge. I don't know why you need speaker wire that big, but it's nice because it accepts 8 and 12 gauge and has a big screw. There are 2 40 amp fuses per side, and also the 4 gauge for power and ground. As I mentioned before, the other side of the amp is literally a mirrored image of the first side. Includes the same inputs, the same outputs, as well as individual gain controls, but there are no crossovers on this amplifier. As far as dimensions, 27.25 inches long by 8 inches wide, and then the height is 2 inches or 51 millimeters. I'm sure a lot of people are going to be wondering, what's the purpose of a big Class AB sound quality amplifier? I would say raw analog power. And for those who are my Grey Poupon viewers who are going to ask all about the sound quality, I have something for you.
Pardon me, would you have any Grey Poupon? But of course.
Now we'll get the amplifier hooked up with the RCAs. Now we're only going to hook up one side of this amplifier and do the test. The reason for that is it's actually 2 completely separate amplifiers in the same enclosure. You can see here, see the board, there's a little line right through the middle. 2 separate boards. There's no reason to test both sides because they're pretty much going to be the same. Let's turn it on and see the lights. There you can see the LEDs. Okay, now we'll fire up the good old SMD Demore Engineering Amplifier Dyno so we can test the RMS power output of this amplifier. But before we do that, make sure you smash me a thumbs up. Check out the link for merchandise, and also subscribe to my channel if you like this type of content and want to see when it comes out. We're going to do the 4-channel test now, but again, we're only testing half of the amp. It's rated 200x4. We're going to test at 1 kilohertz. So let's try it out here. Certified up to 1% THD with a 1 kilohertz tone, and easily get that rated power, 267, 265, so about 266 by 4 at the certified test. Now, we'll put it on the uncertified mode here, which takes us up to clipping, and what you're going to notice here is the numbers are virtually the same. So this amp kind of hits a wall. When it gets to the point where it's not doing any more power, it just kind of goes into clipping. So that's going to be pretty much the same across the board. It does have a little bit of dynamic power. Not a ton, but a little bit. Again, these are 1 kilohertz burst tones, about 298 watts times 4, so well above the rated power. Now what about that efficiency? This is a Class AB amp. 68.5% is actually really good for a Class AB, typically in the 50s. Next up, we'll try 2 ohms. Now the amp's rated 400 watts by 4. Let's see what we get here. Certified up to 1% THD. Oh yes, 425 and 413. Got that rated power plus a little more, right at 14.42 volts. Here we'll go uncertified. You're going to notice what I said before is going to come to fruition. Look how close it is. Exactly the same. 425 and 413 at 14.42. I really should have kind of skipped the uncertified test the rest of the video, but I didn't. Dynamic, let's see what it does dynamic. Check this out. It does have some dynamic headroom. A little over 500 watts per channel, 14.5 volts. What about efficiency at 2 ohms? Still pretty good for Class AB, almost 62% efficient. No complaints for me. Now what about the bridge test? Again, it's 2 separate amps. We're bridging one side. So you have to hook up the left plus and right minus. Rated 800 watts by 2, so each side is rated 800 watts. We're going to run these tests at 40 hertz because we're assuming if you're going to bridge it, you're going to power subwoofers. Certified, here we go. 847 at 14.64. Our voltage was a little bit high. We actually did another test that I'll show you on the result sheet of what the power was right at 14.4 volts. Let's go uncertified again. For what reason, I don't know. Here we go up to the clipping point. Again, this is 40 hertz test and virtually the same, 845 at 14.64. Now what about the dynamic with the amplifier bridged? See what we get here. Can we get more than 900 watts? Oh yes. Closing in on 1,000 on 1G. Oh yeah, we got it. 1,024 watts, 14.64. Now what about the efficiency? It's actually a little bit higher, 62.8% at 40 hertz, so that was impressive. Now on to the results. You saw most of the test. I would say you have to pay for sound quality watts. But here you can see 8 ohm test in the multi-channel. I got 150 by 4. And 8 ohms bridged, I got 528 by 2. So that's really good again. And now the question is, do it sound good though? Let's find out. Here's the Stereo Integrity 200.4 on the bench. We have it wired up to the ELAC bookshelf speakers. These are 6 ohm speakers. Those are on 2 channels. And then we have the Kicker quad box bridged, but we have it wired in series, so it's actually 4 ohms bridged going into channels 3 and 4 on the Stereo Integrity. So I've been listening to all kind of really cool songs today, but I can't let you guys hear those because my video will be flagged. So I'm going to let you hear some of the music that YouTube allows us to play back. So just deal with it. I'll play a couple songs and then we'll just move on. Now again, I listened to a dozen or so CDs of my favorite artists, and this amp just sounded incredible. Too bad I can't give you that experience, but you can tell here, Big D's kind of happy. You can also get an idea of the size of this amplifier. Now let's find out what's inside. I say beauty and the beast. We've already seen the beast part. We'll talk about the beauty part here. On the Stereo Integrity page, they talk all about the components that are utilized. Very high quality components inside. Input filtering, we have 22 total Rubicon 25 volt 2200 microfarad caps, and then we have 8 Stereo Integrity branded 63 volt 10,000 microfarad capacitors for the rails, and we also have 16 complementary BJTs. The TO3s is what you guys know these as. TO3 is actually just the enclosure that they use, and how they look has nothing to do with the actual transistor. For op amps, they're UPC 4570s. And then we have MOSFET power supply, the RF 3205 for the power supply. Now let's talk about the pros and cons. A lot more pros. Surpass the rated power. It's a beautiful amp, has that acrylic cover, Tiffany style RCAs, individual gain controls for each channel. All connections are on one side. Quality internal components, 4-gauge speaker and power terminals. It includes a pine crate, which is super cool, and decent Class AB efficiency. Actually, some of the highest Class AB efficiency I've measured. Things that could be better, it does cost $1,300. Dealing with your jealous friends, and yeah, it's pretty big, but again, it's a Class AB sound quality amp, so you have to deal with it. So there you have it. There is my test and review of the Stereo Integrity SIQ-200.4. Really like this amp. I did purchase it from Stereo Integrity, so this is not a free amplifier that was sent to me. I did pay for it. So I gave you guys the true numbers in power, and also my true feelings about how the amp sounded. I really wish I could play different music for you, but it is what it is. Till next time, Big D, I'm out of here.